Have you ever stopped to think about what really fuels our entire planet? I mean, all 7 billion of us? You might be surprised to learn it all comes down to just 3 humble types of plants. Today, we're going to break down these pillars of your plate. Let's get into it.
I mean, think about it. There is such an incredible, amazing diversity of food out there. But what are the absolute staples, the core foods that billions of people rely on day in and day out to survive?
Well, the answer is kind of shocking in its simplicity. It's not some complex mix of 1,000 different things. Nope. The foundation for pretty much all of our global nutrition rests on just 3 humble plant sources.
All right, so where do we begin? Let's start with the big one, the undisputed champion of global food, the cereal grain. We're going to really unpack this foundational food and see what makes it tick. Okay, bear with me. We're going to get a little nerdy for a second, but it's cool, I promise. There's this fantastic word, Caryopsis. Sounds fancy, right? It's simply the proper botanical name for a cereal grain. It means it's a special kind of fruit where the seed coat is fused right onto the fruit wall. And that's not just trivia. That unique structure is the key to how grains are stored, milled, and processed. So picture any grain. Wheat, rice, corn, doesn't matter. They all have the same 3-part setup. You've got the bran. That's the tough, fibrous outer shell. Then there's the endosperm, the big starchy middle that's all about providing energy. And tucked inside is the germ, the tiny living embryo that's absolutely packed with vitamins and healthy fats. And wow, this chart really tells the story, doesn't it? That starchy endosperm makes up a massive 82% of the grain's total weight. The bran is a distant second at 15%, and that super nutrient-dense germ, it's just a tiny 3%. Keep that 82% number in your head, because it's about to become really important. Okay, so this is where it all clicks into place for us at the grocery store. A whole grain has all 3 of those parts we just talked about. You get the whole package, all the good stuff. But a refined grain, like white flour or white rice, has had the bran and the germ stripped away. And what are you left with? Mostly just that starchy endosperm. This means you're losing a ton of fiber, vitamins, and minerals in the process.
All right, so we've got our primary energy source covered. Now, let's move on to the second pillar of our plate, the protein specialists of the plant world. We're talking about the power of the pulse.
So legumes, which you might also hear called pulses, are just the edible seeds from plants in the Fabaceae family, and they play a huge role in our diet. Globally, they are the second most important source of protein for humans, right after cereals. So just how much more protein are we talking about here? Well, this chart makes it super clear. While a typical cereal like wheat has about 13% protein, which is pretty good, a legume like chickpeas packs a way bigger punch at around 20%. That is a significant difference. Now, here's where things get really, really interesting. Legumes are rich in an essential amino acid called lysine. And as it turns out, lysine is something that cereals are pretty low in. This makes them nutritionally complementary, a key concept we're going to come back to in a big way. Now, you might have heard that legumes have these things called anti-nutritional factors that can make them a little tough to digest. And that's true. But the good news is, simple, traditional preparation methods, things our ancestors have been doing for centuries, like soaking, cooking, sprouting, or fermenting, they easily reduce these compounds and unlock all of that incredible nutritional value. So, we've covered carbs from cereals and protein from legumes. Now for our third and final pillar, the fats. Let's dive into nature's most concentrated form of fuel. Oil seeds are pretty much what they sound like. Seeds with a really high oil content, anywhere from 20 to 45%. But here's the key difference from cereals. That oil is stored all throughout the entire seed, not just locked away in a tiny germ. And that makes extracting it much, much easier. And you'll definitely recognize these names. We're talking about global powerhouses like soybeans, peanuts, sunflowers, and sesame seeds. These guys form the very foundation of the world's entire edible oil supply. So why are oil seeds so important? Well, it all comes down to this number right here, 9 kilocalories per gram. Oil is the most calorie-dense nutrient we have, with more than double the energy of carbohydrates or protein. This makes oil seeds an incredibly efficient way for nature to store energy and for us to consume it. All right, we've met the individual players, cereals for carbs, legumes for protein, and oil seeds for fat. They're great on their own, for sure, but the real magic happens when they come together. Let's look at their perfect food partnership. This is really the heart of the story. You can think of cereals and legumes as nutritional soulmates. It's a symbiotic relationship where, honestly, the weakness of one is the strength of the other. And this table shows you exactly how it works. It's the aha moment. Remember we said cereals are low in that amino acid lysine? Well, look, legumes are high in it. And on the flip side, legumes are low in another amino acid, methionine, which cereals have plenty of. So when you eat them together, they perfectly cover each other's gaps and form what's called a complete protein.
And this isn't just some abstract concept from a textbook. It is the basis for some of the most iconic, most delicious meals all around the world. Things like rice and dal in South Asia, bread with hummus in the Middle East, or corn and beans in the Americas. For centuries, cultures have instinctively created these perfect protein pairings.
So let's put it all together in one spot. Cereals are our stable, reliable carbohydrate base. Legumes are our protein powerhouses, and oilseeds provide those incredibly high energy fats, even though they tend to be the least shelf stable, simply because of that high fat content.
The key takeaway, the big picture here, is that these three groups work as a system. This triad of cereals, legumes, and oilseeds is the very foundation of global food security. It provides the essential energy, protein, and fats that billions of us depend on every single day.
So, we've explored the science behind the foods that literally sustain humanity, from their hidden internal structure to their powerful partnership. So I'll leave you with this thought. Now that you know how it all works, how is this knowledge going to change what you put on your plate?